Hey, look at this meme I made. That's pretty good. And then my mom disappeared last night. Unlucky man. You know, I'm going to this protest today. Do you wanna come? I don't know. It's not really my style, you know. Come on, man. Police is killing us. We could really use your help. Hey, are you even paying attention? No? No? Hey, remember Adam, my friend? He went out after curfew last night and got beaten up so bad that he lost one of his eyes. Come on, man. We could really use your help.
Hey! Someone stole my phone!
Oh, an emergency! Great catching up, see you later! Hey, where are you going? But, my mom... So here we are again with superheroes. But what are superheroes actually supposed to do? Superheroes protect people. They stand up to bullies. They protect the innocent. They help those who cannot help themselves. So how come the biggest villains of all get away with it without the superheroes intervening? I am of course talking about states. State-imposed violence and human rights violations are very common. Just look at the news. So why is it that superheroes are not doing anything about this? States can be the biggest bullies of all because they are not accountable to anyone. If states decide to commit violence on such a huge scale, there is no one to stop them. States are not accountable to anyone. There is no real way to stop a state from committing human rights violations. The only way to make another state accountable is through war with another state. But here again, superheroes are noticeably absent. States should be accountable by law, but they are the ones who are making the laws. Of course, no single individual can stand up against the state and its combined military force. But what about superheroes? That's the whole point of their existence, that they alone can stand up to a whole army. So, this seems like the perfect genre to make states accountable. Of course, in the real world, superheroes don't exist. At least these kind of superheroes. With that being said, there are a few contexts where superheroes do engage in war. The most prevalent example of this is the war against the Nazis, or sometimes, like in Wonder Woman, against the Germans in the First World War. The Nazis are presented as so irredeemably evil in all kinds of pop culture that is not even political anymore. Superheroes beating up Nazis is quite a common story thread. The other example of when superheroes do engage in war is America's war on terror. This is usually depicted with a twist of criticizing America, but still, our superheroes are fighting some nondescript bad guys in the Middle East. There's usually a criticism of how America is creating this war on terror in the first place. Like in the first Iron Man, when Tony Stark finds out that his weapons are in the hands of the terrorists. Or more recently in The Boys, where Homelander creates terrorists that he calls supervillains so he can fight them. There is some rhetoric surrounding if superheroes should join the American army and engage in wars. The point that America is creating these supervillains is a commentary on how America is manufacturing the war on terror. But no other wars are presented as worthy to be fighting in for superheroes. Presumably, it would be too controversial to depict American super soldiers fighting some other state. It would be an interference in internal affairs. The only example that I can think of is in Watchmen. Here, Dr. Manhattan joins the Vietnam War and helps the Americans win it. However, this is presented critically. So here is the central conflict. Superheroes are either American But then their involvement in other states' affairs would be seen as imperialist propaganda. Or there is the other option, that is, superheroes are not all American. But this would undermine the implicit American exceptionalism that is present in superhero media. By not allowing other places to get their own superheroes, America gets to keep its position as the savior of the world. This works against foreign threats such as aliens, but this means these superhero stories are not allowed to engage in storytelling that makes states accountable. Because America can only defend against aliens and save humanity, because the alternative would be way too controversial. But here's the question: why do all superheroes have to be American? It doesn't really make sense. Every superhero comes from one country. It seems like no other places are allowed to have superheroes. Let's look at Marvel. All of their heroes either come from America or not a real place and then end up in America. Tony Stark? Check. Captain America? Check, obviously. Thor? He comes from Asgard, but then comes to America when he comes to Earth. Why couldn't he go to Scandinavia? Wouldn't that make more sense? Hawkeye? Check. Ant-Man? Check. Black Panther? Wakanda? Oh wow, it's a different country. Oh wait, Wakanda doesn't exist. This is an imaginary country, because no other country, real place, are allowed to have superheroes. With Black Panther, at least it makes sense story-wise. But look at Wanda. She comes from Sokovia, which is not a real country for some reason. She is supposed to come from the Balkans. Why couldn't they just pick a country? Also in her new series, she ends up in American sitcoms that she really doesn't have any connection with. The only one from the main lineup is Black Widow, who comes from Russia. Even in the Guardians of the Galaxy, Star-Lord is American and the rest just comes from space. When superheroes do come from space, they are still American somehow. Just look at Superman or even Omni-Man. They present this quintessential American image, even though they come from hundreds of millions of light years away. Other places are just not allowed to have superheroes. When there are supernatural threats, America saves the day through the proxy of superheroes. Other places are helpless victims. This is very obvious in Spider-Man Far From Home, when they travel across locations in Europe, and it has to be Spider-Man who is on holiday who saves the day. I'm sure there's some local superhero who could do just as good of a job, right? Another reason why superheroes don't make states accountable is that the genre is very prone to the preservation of the status quo. The superhero genre usually takes place in an alternative real world, where the political institutions are still roughly the same. Therefore, any change in the political system would be threatening to the status quo. This is very unlike other genres, such as dystopian. The dystopian genre usually posits what if a very repressive government was in charge and their hero, who is akin to a superhero, wants to change it since they are directly suffering from this system. A great example is The Hunger Games, where Katniss Everdeen explicitly fights to take down the government and the current system. Of course, this would be too controversial if Panem was directly equated to any real-world country. It can only work in allegory. This is quite significant since many real-world examples that I have listed below are very dystopian. The superhero genre works under a very different logic. The heroes usually have to take down supervillains who threaten the status quo, not the government that represents the status quo. So when the hero fights against the villain, they have to defend the current system.
They were oppressors, racists, slave owners.
The villain usually proposes drastic change, and the hero has to prevent them from achieving that. A great example of this is Black Panther. Here Killmonger wants black liberation and reverse systematic racism. When Killmonger is inevitably defeated, T'Challa proposes mild, non-controversial change. He will help poor black neighborhoods around the world with some financial help. A similar thing happens in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where the villains propose very drastic change. They want to erase all borders and provide free movement for all. Even in the real world, this is a very contentious political issue. Racist immigration policies are widespread around the whole world. This would be a good cause for heroes to fight for. But instead, it is the cause of the villains, so they have to be taken down. The villains in the end turn out to be monstrous, and by extension, their cause is not worthy to be implemented. Here again, Falcon makes a speech that is not gonna cause any real change. All things considered, the superhero genre has the potential to be anti-human rights abuses and by extension, anti-establishment. However, to achieve this, there are two things that need to change. We need major superhero stories that are not American and do not uphold American exceptionalism. We also need superheroes who have the drive of the villains to bring about systemic change without the murderous rage and with a sense of justice. If you have enjoyed this video,
please subscribe
and see you soon.